Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to create the overall layout of our website. Now keep in mind it is of utmost importance that you have to think of responsiveness right from the start of creating your websites. That is really important, and that is why we need to create the layout first. Now what I'm going to do here is, before actually diving into the layout, I'm going to comment this part out. We need to provide how many sections that we have so we can actually arrange them in our layout. So let's first dive into the different number of sections that we're going to have in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say within the main, the first section is going to be the header section. That's why I'm going to create this bizarre comment so it is distinguishable from the rest of these sections, from the rest of these subsections. Now for the header, we're going to use the semantic element, which is header, and I could give it an ID, which is going to say main header. So this ID is going to say main header. Now within the header, for now, I'm just going to provide this text, main header. There we go. Let's come down here, and this is going to be the hero section. The hero section is going to be actually a section. It's going to have a class of hero. So let's just write here hero. Let's copy this. So we are going to have features, diversify, testimonials. So these sections as well. So there is nothing in there, right? Just keep that in mind. There is nothing in there. So we have after the hero, we are going to have features. Let me just lowercase this f. After the features, we are going to have diversify or diversification. There we go. Afterwards, we are going to have our testimonials. There we go. And after testimonials, so we have 1, 2, 3. We have hero, features, diversify, testimonials. So in total we have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is going to be footer. I'm going to say footer. The class is going to be footer, or I could just provide it with an ID. I'm just going to say ID. And in here, this is going to say footer as well, and this is going to say footer as well. Now we do have that JS file that we need to connect as well. Now, the way you link JavaScript files is that it always has to go, it has to be the final line within your HTML. It has to be the last line of your HTML. That's how JavaScript works. CSS has to be the first one, but JavaScript, it has to be the last one. I mean, there is no way around it. There is one way, but just don't get into that. Don't put your JavaScript in the head part. Don't do that. So I'm going to say JavaScript file. Now, for those of you who haven't heard of JavaScript, JavaScript is a programming language, aka scripting language. It is the language of the web. It provides interactivity for our websites. When you want to submit a form, you write your comment, you submit it. That is JavaScript. When you want to pull something from your database, for example, you want to take a look at an image where that is coming from, that is JavaScript. When you have some interactivity, like you fill out something or you chat with someone, these are all JavaScript. So that JavaScript is basically the interactivity of the web. So HTML is the content, CSS is the aesthetics, and then JavaScript is going to make that website come alive. Some people just provide this picture, like HTML is the bones, CSS is like the skin and the color and the hair and all that cool stuff, and then JavaScript is like that functionality, like you move and you lift your hand and you talk and you think. That is JavaScript. That is actually an accurate description of JavaScript. So for JavaScript, we are going to have script, and the source is going to be the same. Don't worry. Source is going to be the same with CSS and HTML. So I'm going to say app.js. That's it. Very simple. Now let's open this with live server so we can see what we have done so far. Okay, just get rid of these two. Let's come here. So far this is what we have done. All the margin, the padding, everything is removed. And I'm going to come into inspect and I'm going to bring this a little bit up. So we don't have any grid containers yet. I'm going to set that up right now. So I'm just going to say grid container. There we go. Now first things first, I'm going to say display grid. Now it is a good idea. It is actually the best idea to create the layout of your website through grid, because grid provides you with a two-dimensional system. You could do that with Flex, but I mean, it's just going to be a headache, a lot of headache. Now, there is something that I forgot to mention, and that is our websites, all of them, they're going to be a combination of Flex and grid. And throughout the website, throughout these videos, you're going to understand and you're going to see visually where you could use Flexbox, where Flexbox is a better option than grid, and where grid is a better option than Flex. So this is display grid. The next decision is going to define or determine whether or not your website is going to become responsive. This decision is called grid template columns. Grid template columns. Now this property is the single property that is either going to destroy your website or it is going to make it the best one available. Keep that in mind. This is that property. And you need to think a lot before actually diving into this property and before actually trying to make sense of it and trying to understand, okay, how many columns should I provide to my website? That's why we're going to do the rest of this video in our next lecture. See you then.